Welcome to Winners, Wallets, and Worldviews, the only show that's going to teach you
how to be somebody.
Where in your life did you learn that you're not good enough?
Take what you're most passionate about and what you're most fearful of, and what is the plan to overcome that fear, and what is the plan to enact that passion.
Okay, guys, so my name is Aaron Armstrong. I go by AJ for all my friends. So if you're friends with me, you know me as AJ. I own the company Armstrong Ventures, which is a leadership consulting group where I do a lot of things through my podcast, where I do a lot of things through one-on-one, working with companies and individuals on breaking through barriers to make themselves the best leaders in the world that they can be in whatever industry that they're in. And this is my wife, Marissa, and she does other things.
Hi. So, that's Lola.
Well, that's Lola. Can you introduce yourself?
My name is Marissa Armstrong, and I am the creator of Marissa's Fit Boutique, which is a women's personal training studio in downtown Oshkosh. So I'm also a natural health educator, advocate, as well as a fitness specialist. So that is what I do day to day.
So this is a big time of year for us. Now, let me just fill you in quickly on where my mind is at. Our mind is at, because we talked about this a lot on the plane.
It is the most exciting time of the year. Oh, jeez, I'm just shaking everything.
Yeah, you're just shaking the house right now. So we just got back from Christmas break, and Christmas we spent in Orlando, Florida, with my in-laws, Marissa's parents, and my my sister-in-law and her boyfriend, and it was a good time. And we got to see. It's kind of fun for us to go back into, you know, these theme parks, and because they're fun, we like rides, obviously, but it also kind of grounds you back into what like normal people kind of act like and think like and do things like and whatnot. So one of the things that we noticed was just kind of like as talking with each other, we started to notice just different opinions people have on things. And one of them is they put these ceilings on themselves. Like they put these, and Marissa made a post about this yesterday. It was really cool. It was remove. So I don't know. I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of like, don't criticize somebody else putting a glass ceiling over themselves until you look at yourself and find out that you have a glass ceiling over yourself as well. And what that means is basically we like to critique others and say it's so easy to, there's a cognitive bias, and I forgot what it's called. But it's basically where you're more likely to identify the changes in value than you are to look at the value itself. So for example, if I look at something, a product, I'm way more likely to notice the flaws with that product than I am to equivocate the product to a whole new product that it's significantly more valuable. For example, when Apple came out with their updates, we all were so upset because we knew that Apple was slowing down their updates, but we didn't think about how much better of a product Apple was still compared to all of its competition. And that's what we mean when we talk about comparing the ceiling that you put on yourself to the ceiling that you put on others. Look at the value you're contributing in its entirety relative to a whole new subject versus just the comparison of value itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I posted yesterday. And I also posted what is like your one characteristic you want to get into this new year. So like this is like our favorite time to dig deep, look at what we did last year, what we didn't do last year, what we failed at, what we succeeded at, what we need to improve upon, what we like excelled at. And then our 3 best tips of what we kind of do each year to get that momentum going. Again, for 2019, which is crazy to say. I'm like my 10-year high school reunion is coming up.
So we're gonna give you guys the 3 tips to going into the new year, right? On this live here, and this is the same tips that I typically work with my clients on, and this is some of the tips that we work on ourselves with. And those tips are really take a lot of consideration into them. Now, we'll share with you the first one that we're going to do ourselves, but the second 2 we haven't even come up with yet, but we'll still tell you what they are, but we haven't come up with them yet because we really want to make sure that we're taking a good amount of time and reflection. Yeah, we want to take a lot of time and reflection on it. So looking back on last year, like I told you guys before, I have a whiteboard in my bathroom. So you're brushing your teeth every day, or you should brush your teeth every day. You're looking at them, and that you take about 2 minutes brushing your teeth. You're consciously looking back over your goals, looking back over your goals, looking back over your goals. And what I started to notice was like, I think it was sometime in September, I'm like, oh my gosh, like we actually did most of these. And some of these were crazy stretch goals, like bizarre Wow, yeah, we'll throw that out there and see what happens. But I'm telling you, there's something with that visualization where if you constantly look back over it and again and again and again, you'll naturally start to move towards something that you like.
Or your unconscious is just reading it over again and again, you know, in the morning when you brush your teeth, at night when you brush your teeth. Like, we have it plastered on our mirror, so you can't avoid it. As soon as you walk into the bathroom, you're just unconsciously reading through whatever's on the whiteboard there right in front of you.
So this isn't one of the tips, but it's a tactical tip you guys can take away with you. It's go buy a whiteboard, get one, I don't know, they're about this big.
Walmart.
Yeah, you know, probably like 11 by 17, something like that, Walmart, Office Depot, whatever. And they have little adhesives on the back. Stick it to your bathroom mirror. They come off really easily, and put a little dry erase marker on there. And then write down a couple of these things that we're about to share with you right now. So the first tip going into the new year is, what you guys want to do is, I've talked about, it's not so much about what you get or what you do, but it's so much more about who you become. And how do you really change yourself? And that's where you got to pick out one characteristic. Not so when you're talking about a goal, I'm talking about like one characteristic that you want to consistently change every day, and you think that you can push it into a habit. So Marissa, would you like to share what your characteristic is, for example?
Yeah, and I think one characteristic is so easy to focus on because you're not overburdening yourself with trying to change 5 different things about you. Like, what if this year you just worked
Morning,
on...
Jason. New Year's resolution time.
Yes, good morning. What if you just worked on one thing, and all of 2019 you completed and you succeeded at this one thing that has now turned into this habit you have for 2020, 2021. So my one thing this year is responsible. My characteristic that I am focusing on is the word responsible. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing like, you know, extravagant or cool. But why I chose the word responsible is because I want to take more responsibility in everything that's happening in my life. All my success, all my failures. I love looking back at 2018 right now going, okay, where did I go wrong? What do I need to improve upon? Because there's nobody else to blame but yourself. Your life is your life. It's not, you know, the government's life. It's not your neighbor's life. It's not your parents' life. You are the one to blame for what you succeed at and what you fail at.
Well, it's about taking responsibility for everything that you've manifested, right? So,
or didn't.
So you lost money this year. You manifested that. You did. There was something that you did because you lost money. You made money this year. You manifested that. You got to take responsibility for the wins. You got to take responsibility for the losses. And we're so quick to just blame the losses and take responsibility for the wins. It's like, that's not how it works. You got to take responsibility for both.
Exactly.
Right? So I lost money, a lot of money this year, and I took responsibility for it. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to blame. It was my fault, 100% my fault for losing money this year. That's okay. And it's like, but you got to own it, because if you can't own it, you can't fix it. If you can't define the problem, you cannot solve the problem. But if you're going to falsely define the problem, which everybody in the Lean Six Sigma world knows that if you define the problem wrong, there's no way you can solve it because you haven't identified the root cause. But by taking responsibility for something, you're at least identifying that this is my issue. This is what I can control. And somebody just made an awesome quote on my Instagram today, or a couple days ago, and they commented on it. And I'm trying to think of what it was. It was something along the lines of, give me the power to, or give me the courage to pursue what I'm afraid of. Oh, I'm gonna butcher it. I'm sorry. It was a really awesome quote. Go on my Instagram and on my self-love post and read through it. It's a really good quote. But yeah, so responsibility. And I think that's a really good one, because you can put that on your bathroom mirror. You can put that on your whiteboard, and you can look at that every single day, and you can say, this is one characteristic about myself that I choose to change. This is one characteristic. So take the responsibility back. So my characteristic that I want to change this year, and this is the one I'm writing, is discipline. Is discipline. Because,
and who else struggles with that? Put some hearts, put some,
yeah, and discipline doesn't mean that
thumbs up if that's you.
Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs run into this. I think a lot of people that have big goals run into this. I don't think it's so much of, when people put the big goals out there, what they're afraid of is they're afraid of the small changes that they need to make consistently every single day to get to the big goal. I mean, it's not just about these radical changes. It's just, and I'll give you an example. So we're with my father-in-law, and he's telling a story about his father. So Marissa's grandpa, and he's passed away years ago. And Marissa's grandfather used to be a pilot on ships. So I didn't know. First of all, I thought they were just captains of ships. I didn't know there was a pilot of a ship. I thought pilots flew planes. Well, here's what he used to do. He used to work in New York Harbor, and there were so many challenging channels throughout the harbor, and there's these weird depths and currents and weather and all sorts of weird stuff. And the captains of the ship would eventually approach the harbor, and they weren't experts enough to go through the channels. So they would eventually dock. They would send a little boat out. They'd get on the boat, and it would have this pilot. This was Marissa's grandfather. And what he would do is he would direct the captain and the first mate just 1 or 2 degrees at a time and just give them little tiny commands so that they could navigate through these harbors. And 1 degree could be drastically problematic if they messed it up. And it was just little tiny details every single time was the pilot of this ship. And he would do this for a living. Now think about that in your life. And this is why discipline is so important to me, is because it's just the 1 or 2 missteps every single day. If you talk to a great football coach, they always tell you it's the inches that matter. It's the details. It's the 1 or 2 steps. I mean, when I was a college football player, I remember watching film, and you'd have a great practice where you just made a great tackle on a guy. And the coach never even got to the end where you made the tackle, because the coach kept rewinding your first step back and forth. I mean, you would get dizzy watching this film. It was nuts. It was just step, step. Hey, Armstrong, look at your step. Look at your step. Look at your step. And you're just going back and forth. I'm like, yeah, coach, but finish it. I made the tackle. He's like, I don't care about the tackle. I care about your step, because you would have made that tackle back 3 yards further if you would have taken this step properly, if you would have done exactly what you needed to right there. And that's why it comes back to discipline. It's the small habits every single day in your life that have the true gigantic trajectory in the long run. And I think a lot of us are afraid of that. It's because it's uncomfortable. Because a lot of times discipline, you have to delay gratification. A lot of times discipline requires you to do something that feels it's not as comfortable right now. It's not as pleasurable in the moment because you're delaying pleasure for the long run.
Or I think too, a lot of it seems like a waste of time. Like we kind of talked about this in a past couple of videos, where what's the little things in the morning that start your day off the right way, that start your day off in the right direction. And it's like brushing your teeth. Maybe for us it's making celery juice, which is super time consuming, going to the gym, reading, writing down our goals, whatever those little tedious tasks may be are so important in the long run. And a lot of the times it seems like a waste of time. Yeah, I want to sleep an extra 20 minutes in my nice warm cozy bed when it's 15 degrees outside.
It's a nice bed.
Absolutely. But I know that's not what's going to get me to this next level. This is not going to get me to the next best version of myself. If anything, it's going to keep me back. So those are the little reminders I have within myself, knowing that, yes, brushing my teeth every single day is super important. Going to the gym every single day is super important. Doing these little tasks every day is super important, because it's just looking at the grand scheme of things is what's going to get me there.
Yeah, so it's really about, and people talk about this all the time, discipline is just a habit. And that's something that I need to focus on. I know a lot of you guys can relate to it too. It's especially when you have big goals. If another good example was one of Marissa's clients is an 11-year-old, right? And he walked into the gym, and I met him for the first time, and he looked at me. He's like, "Wow, he's huge!" And that's what he said to his mother. And I'm kind of flattered by it. And I said, I was telling Marissa, I said, you know what? I started lifting weights when I was his age. And it's like, so he's looking at me like I'm just giant. Well, how do you get there? Well, you start lifting weights every single day for the next 15 years of your life. That's what you do. And it's just like the result that seems so far away is really as easy as just picking up a dumbbell every single day for the next 15 years of your life. And it's like, that is just the small habit that's eventually going to manifest itself into the result that you want. So many people do the same thing. If you want to make a multi-million-dollar business, if you want to do whatever, it's like, it's not about this year just snapping your fingers and getting lucky, but it's about what are the small, simple disciplines. So in summary, the first tip that I just brought up today is, what is your one characteristic? What is your one characteristic that you want to change about yourself? Marissa's is responsibility. Mine is discipline. What's yours? There's got to be something that you guys have, and if you already know what that is, comment it. Let's talk about it, because some of these could be great characteristics. It's not about a result. It's not about a dollar value. It's not about material good. The first tip is just coming up with what is one characteristic you want to change about yourself that you wouldn't be worried about if you were known as. If Marissa's known as responsible, that's a great thing. That's a virtuous characteristic. If I'm known as disciplined, that is a virtuous characteristic. What's yours? Shoot us a note what you guys think your characteristic's going to be for 2019. And that's our first tip. So second tip,
which we also have not done yet. We're still focusing on. We just finished our first tip. That's how long it took us.
Yeah. So, I mean, it should be a lot of thought put into your tips. But the second tip is, now that you talk about who do you want to become, talk about what do you want to do and what do you want to get. So this is, what is the result you're looking for? Because you can't hit a target that you can't see, right? You can't hit a target that you can't see. So if you can pinpoint the result somewhere, do it, right? So if your result is, I want $1 million in sales, the first question is, okay, what characteristic about yourself would get you $1 million in sales? And then the second is, $1 million in sales is my result. That's what I want to get to. So Marissa and I haven't really come up exactly with what we want to do. We have some financial goals that we know we want to get to. However, the exact means of getting to the financial goals, I'm just talking about which business segment do I want to achieve it in. Is it going to be real estate? Is it going to be Armstrong Ventures? Is it going to be with some investing strategy? What segment am I trying to get these financial goals? We still got to vet some of that out, because we want them to mean something. We want them to be good. And Marissa has some similar goals as well. We want to start making Marissa's Fit Boutique slightly more passive. We want to have a couple different more strategies there. So these are different techniques we're working on through ourselves. But think about that. What is the result you want to do? Is it a financial goal? Is it a relationship goal? Like, I want to have a great relationship with my wife. Well, define what the great relationship with your wife means. Does that mean we fight one time every 6 months? I don't know. What is it? Just define it so you know if you're going to hit it or not. And in fitness, everyone talks about SMART goals. Well, that's the same thing with your life and with your New Year's goals. It should be SMART. It should be specific, measurable, attainable. What's the R? I don't know. You're the smart person.
Oh my gosh, what's the R?
Who knows what the R is, really?
T, and oh my gosh, I'll get back to you on that one.
Repetitive, repeatable.
No.
I'm just going to Google this because this is embarrassing. SMART goals. This is how hard it is to solve problems here. Specific, relevant, measurable, achievable, relevant. What is it? And then time. Relevant. Obviously, I'm setting a goal that's relevant. Anyway, SMART goals. So just mostly it's specific, measurable, and achievable. And don't make it too achievable, because so many people go out there and they'll set the bar lower because they know it's achievable.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people like that.
Honestly, double it. If you know in 2008 or 19, you're already going to achieve this goal because it's lined up perfectly in front of you, double it.
Right.
Easiest thing to do.
So those are the first two tips. Number one, characteristic about yourself that you want to change. Number two, a result that you want to change and attract. Okay. What was the third one? Do you remember the third one?
Number 3 was what is your limiting belief in 2018 that you want to get rid of in 2019? And what is the empowering belief you're going to replace it with this coming year?
So last year,
we talk about, I think, limiting beliefs on every single episode, I feel like, because it is so important to address and acknowledge within yourself to take that next step forward.
You can't do the outer work without doing the inner work. So we talked about that a couple times, and that's what we mean, is your belief structure is the foundation to everything that you're going to create or everything you're going to do differently. So if you believe for example, let's go religious on you, right? If you believe God's got your back, or you don't believe God has your back, your behavior is going to be completely different in both of those circumstances. If you believe God's got your back, you're going to be generally more optimistic and you're going to act throughout faith. If you don't believe in God or anything else, then really the world's on your shoulders and you're going to have a lot more pragmatic view on things, and you're going to completely change your behavior and your style. You might be more conservative or more cynical, more skeptical, something like that. So that's a good example of how your beliefs could totally change what you believe or what your results end up becoming. So let's look at what your limiting beliefs are. So the first one is identify what was your biggest limiting belief of 2018. And I remember when I did this last year, so we haven't done the third one yet, but I'll do what I did last year. So 2017, my biggest limiting belief was my age. It was like I grew a big beard. That's why you guys see on my podcast and everything. I had a big
Trying
beard.
to make himself look like he was 33 and 16.
So I looked older because I was trying to have a lot of these different, I'd have conversations with people in town. I'd have conversations with people in my career. I'd have all sorts of and no one would take me. I believe no one was taking me seriously because I was a 24 or 25-year-old, right? And it was just and I'm trying to make these big moves, and people were just kind of like, is this guy for real? Like, is this just some kid, some little cocky shit? And that was my belief. So in 2017, I removed that belief out of my life. And then it went into 2018, and I replaced that with, that I am enough, that I am old enough, that it's about my competence, my IQ, my intelligence, my ability to stand strong in my opinions. And I removed that belief, and it just totally changed exactly what I became in 2018. So go back and try it with this year. So in 2018, what was some limiting belief that stopped you? What was something that was slowing you down? And look at it and say, how do I remove this from my life? Like Marissa and I physically burned it in our hands. We wrote it out on a piece of paper and we burned it. And we're like, this thing is gone. And then we threw it out. And then there was like a little piece of the burn left. And you attach that to your whiteboard with a little magnet. And that's what we did. So I looked at it and I said, yeah, this one's gone. And it worked. Like, honestly, I don't think I thought about my age all of 2018. It wasn't an issue anymore. I didn't really care. Because you just did the inner work to remove it. You fundamentally disregarded it. You outcasted it from your family, from your life, from your thoughts. You said, this is no longer acceptable belief in my brain.
And I think mine 2017, which has been, oh my gosh, 180 difference from then to now, is, well, I have the trait of a people pleaser. And I know a lot of people can relate to that, to where you're constantly thinking
It's great if you're a husband. I'm just kidding.
You're constantly thinking about what others are going to think about you in your decision. So you're always playing this, you're always playing this reel in your head. Okay, I'm going to make this decision. Now, who's going to be affected by this? Who's going to judge me on this? Who's not going to be happy with this? Who is going to say something nasty about this? But then again, I had to constantly remind myself, moving into 2018, I cannot control other people's emotions. And those who are really chronic people pleasers are constantly trying to please other people by controlling their emotions. And you can't do it. You physically cannot do it. If anything, it will make you sick. It will make you stressed. It'll give you anxiety because you're constantly trying to control what's going on in the other person's mind. And you can't. Like I said, you just physically cannot do it, mentally cannot do it. So that was my big thing in 2018, where
look how much power you give away. Look how much power you give away when you do that. When you're giving other people the opportunity, you're saying, I want your emotions to dictate how I feel. I mean, wow. You're giving a lot of power away. I'm not saying, wow, everybody else can think whatever, all this different crap, because people have really screwed up brains and they think about a lot of weird stuff. All those emotions are going to control how I feel. No power at all. Nothing, right? So now when you look at taking back responsibility for yourself and for your actions, your goal this year, and it's really like, I want to be responsible. I want to take ownership of my own results, whatever I can manifest and what's in my control.
Oh yeah, what I say, what I do, and it's all, for a purpose. And I'm not looking at what so-and-so is going to think about, what this person's going to say, because I'm doing it in, the overall better interest of my business or my relationship. So those limiting beliefs are, if you can only take one away from all these things, at least identify what those limiting beliefs are in your life, because there are there. The only reason you haven't gotten to where you want to go is because there's a belief stopping you, quite frankly. There's something in there, and we could work on it. I could sit here and we could have a conversation like this for a half hour, probably pinpoint it right away and figure it out. But they're there, and you're always going to have something that's stopping you. So go back, do the inner work, remove that belief, replace it with a new empowering belief, something that's going to lift you up. I mean, like, as cheesy as it sounds, like an empowering belief could be something like, I can do anything. I mean, I can handle this. I can do whatever I need to do. I have, all power through Christ who strengthens me. Whatever that belief is, if you replace it and you practice it and really ingrain it into your life, into your thoughts, you will start to see a different result. I mean, people that lie to themselves consistently and eventually believe their lies,
Why wouldn't that work on the positive? Why wouldn't that work on the same side? If you consistently believe in powering things, visualization, stimulating confidence, all those types of things, why wouldn't that work? It's the same thought, right? Just repetition. You put all this stuff on your whiteboard in 3 columns, and you're going to start to look at it every single day. You're going to ingrain that habit into you every single day. So let's recap. First tip of the new year is go buy a whiteboard. Okay, first of all, pre-tip, that's tip 0. Go buy a whiteboard, stick it up in your bathroom, and write these 3 things down. First one, who do I want to become? One characteristic that I will vow to every single day. And the characteristic should be virtuous by nature. So Marissa's is responsibility this year. Mine is discipline this year, right? So those are our 2 characteristics. What are yours? Let me know. Send me a note. See if they're good. See if they're virtuous. If they're stupid, then we'll let you know. I mean, seriously, they could be stupid. Some people could say, I want to be wealthy. It's like, well, you attract wealth. That's not a virtue. Wealth is not a virtue, right? Charity would be a virtue. Greed would be an anti-virtue, right? So poverty would be an anti-virtue. You want charity, something like that could be virtuous nature that you would like to be. But anyway, send us some notes. We'll let you know what we think, if they're good virtues or not. The second one, what result do you want to attract? What result do you want to attract? It could be a financial target. It could be a business target. It could be a career target. It could be a relationship target. It could be a health target. It could be some type of good health metric. If it's sometimes like Marissa, she doesn't always necessarily say go by your weight, don't go by the scale. There's a lot of different characteristics to indicate a healthy life. So if you guys want to be healthier or live a longer life or feel better, there are multiple alternative ways other than being compulsive over the scale of what you can do. Some people might need a little bit of that structure with the scale, right? So there's just, depending on what your strategy is, what is your metric? Make it smart goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant. And timely. So those are things to think about as you go into this new year. What is the result you're looking for? And finally, third, what is your limiting belief from last year? And what are you going to replace that limiting belief with to make it more empowering this year? Right? So we talked about a couple of mine, right? Our age, people pleaser. Those are some of the ones we came up with. What's this next one going to be?
Honestly, take this into consideration because it really worked. Like, it really worked. I don't remember the last time AJ talked about his age or feeling
clearly not. Look at that shave. I proved it.
Seriously. And even with myself too, like I, do things kind of out of my own best interest and the best interest of a large group, whether it be with my business.
Well, you say no to a lot more things.
Oh yeah, I say no to way more things, and I'm not apologetic about it. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point. Like, say no and don't be apologetic about it. Yeah.
So those are some of our 3 tips, guys. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, tag a friend, whatever, because I think this is going to be really helpful as you guys go into the new year. Some of you guys might go out and still be binging the next 2 days or whatever. Do your thing, whatever it is you do, but make sure that you come back and you start to take this time to finally think about yourself and think about not only just be like, it's not selfish, but it's self, ish, right? Think about yourself so that you can go out and help more people. Think about yourself so that you can actually be valuable to others. Think about yourself so that you can actually change yourself for your kids, your family, your life, whatever that is, and whatever people that are dependent on your energy, that are dependent on what you can provide, make it better for them. That's what this is all about. So it's not selfish, it's self-ish, right? And I think those are some tips that I would really like you guys to take away with in this new year. So if you have any questions, please let us know. Once again, my name's AJ Armstrong. I run the podcast Winners Wallets Worldviews. I'm the consulting company for leadership consulting, Armstrong Ventures. We also do investments in real estate and a couple other miscellaneous projects we're working on. And this is my lovely wife, Marissa Armstrong of Marissa's Fit Boutique, located in downtown Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So if you guys are looking for very specific fitness goals, she is your lady, and she works with clients all over the map, whether you have never seen a barbell or don't even know what a barbell is.
Well, yeah, plugging in that we'll be also launching our Step 1 program on January 17th. So that is for the woman that does not know where to begin in her fitness or health journey and just needs that first step forward. So Step 1, that is what we focus on. It's a 6-week fitness starter program for the beginner.
And for anybody that has been interested or has worked with me in the past and wants to jump back in as well, I am starting my program this coming up after the new year. However, if you sign up before New Year's Day, it's going to be 10% off the one-on-one coaching package that I do. So I'm taking some more one-on-one clients. If you guys are interested in what the one-on-one client relationship program entails, you can go into my Instagram bio and you can book a free call, 20 minutes, 30 minutes sometimes, and we talk about your specific goals, what's going on. If it's sometimes people want some help with their business or leadership in their business, and I've got some experience working with leaders, so it's very helpful, I think, for others to get that sounding board of ideas and solutions that they might not be familiar with. So if that's something that's interesting to you, you can always go in my bio, or you can go to my website, aaronjarmstrong.com, and you can book a call. It's automatic. You don't have to talk to anybody. No one's going to sell you anything. It's just click, fill out your information, and we'll talk just like this on the phone. So, and like I said, if you guys sign up with me with any of my programs before the new year, it's 10% off of your entire purchase. And some of the programs get up there in price. So 10% can be big for you, big savings. So with that said, that is all we have today.
Enjoy your new week, your new year. And
well, we'll see you guys
chat
next year then,
soon.
if you want to tune in again next Saturday. So thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day and go be somebody.